Your app is less global than you think. The case for a language switcher. Let's be brutally honest. Relying solely on the OS to handle your app's language is lazy. It's the easy way out, and it's costing you users and revenue. The built-in localization on iOS and Android feels like magic. Add your strings, and poof, the app appears in the user's device language. It's clean, it's simple, and it's fundamentally flawed for the real world. Thinking you've checked the localization box just because you've dropped in a language pack is like thinking you're a chef because you know how to use a microwave. You're warming things up, but you're not creating a great experience. The core of the problem is a misunderstanding between what a device setting represents and what a user actually wants. Take two very similar languages, like Norwegian and Swedish. People in Norway can generally understand Swedish quite well. If your app has a Swedish translation, but not a Norwegian one, what happens to a user in Oslo? Their phone, set to Norwegian, will trigger the OS to fall back to your app's default language, almost always English. You've just forced a user who could have comfortably used your app in a closely related language into a completely foreign one. That user is now confused and likely to churn. This isn't a niche problem. Millions of people live in countries with mutually intelligible languages. An in-app language list would let that Norwegian user just tap Svenska and get on with their day. This extends to the massive global population of multilingual individuals. We love to assume that if their native tongue isn't available, English is the universal backup. That's a wildly Anglo-centric view. Think of someone in Morocco who speaks both Arabic and French. If your app doesn't have Arabic, they would absolutely prefer French over English. But without a manual override, they're stuck with whatever default you've hard-coded. It's a clumsy experience that screams, "We didn't think about you." The situation gets even more complex with regional variants. A user in Mexico City would feel far more at home with Brazilian Portuguese than the European version if their native Spanish isn't an option. But the OS-level logic isn't smart enough to make that cultural connection. Then you have the whole labyrinth of writing systems. The OS might correctly identify a user's language as Azerbaijani, but what if your app uses the Latin script while the user only reads Cyrillic? You've delivered the right language in an unreadable format. This isn't just a hypothetical, it's a real barrier that locks people out. In places with immense linguistic diversity, like India or South Africa, users see an in-app selector not as a feature, but as a basic necessity. For many developers, this reality only hits home when a user from one of these markets points out that the app is simply unusable for them and their community without it. Let's also not forget the power users who manipulate their device settings for their own needs. I, for one, keep my phone in English to get the most out of my voice assistant during my commute. But when I open my banking app, I want to see everything in my native language to ensure I don't accidentally send a tuition payment to the wrong account. Forcing me to use English for everything is a UX failure. People learning a new language will often immerse themselves by changing their phone settings, but they'll still want their mission-critical apps in the language they know best. Beyond just fixing user experience problems, a language switcher is a powerful growth engine. It's a direct channel of communication. When a user opens that menu, they see which languages you support and, more importantly, which you don't. This is your moment to recruit a community. A simple "Help us translate" button next to the list can turn passive users into active contributors. One developer saw his app's user base in Brazil and Russia explode after he added translations, spurred by volunteers who saw the need. He noted that reviews improved dramatically because users in those markets are particularly vocal about the lack of localization. Getting to a 5-star rating isn't just about code, it's about connection. By making your localization efforts visible and participatory, you're not just asking for free labor, you're inviting your users to build a better product with you. This creates a virtuous cycle. More languages lead to more users, which leads to more contributors, driving growth in markets you could never have captured otherwise. So, to wrap things up at Locanucu, let's be clear. The in-app language switcher is not an optional extra. It is a fundamental tool for global success. We've seen how it caters to the nuanced needs of multilingual users, solves complex script and dialect issues, and empowers users to choose the best experience for them, regardless of their phone settings. More than that, it's a strategic lever for community building and market growth, turning users into partners and paving the way for better reviews and wider adoption. Stop letting the OS make bad decisions for your users and start giving them the control they deserve.